Ken Harrison is a veteran of the LA Police Department and a successful businessman. He says many people are held back in life by what he calls a victim mentality. Instead of making hard choices, they make excuses. In his book, Victors and Victims, Harrison tells how to identify your core values, how to build powerful relationships, and how to be happy as you fulfill your goals and dreams.
In your book, Victors and Victims, you talk about people who have a victim mentality and those who have a victor mentality. What is the characteristics of a victim mentality and the characteristics of a person with a victor mentality?
Well, victims are people who refuse to make choices. They spend their life frozen in fear, and so they won't make choices, and then they want to blame other people, make other people accountable for their own lives rather than take responsibility. Whereas victors understand life's about choices. You've got to make choices, and you've got to make the action of those choices.
Now, I know you worked as a Los Angeles police officer, and you worked in South Central, which is one of the probably toughest areas in the United States to work. And being in that environment, I know there's a lot of people there who do genuinely feel like they don't have a choice in how their lives turn out. What would you say to that person who all they see is crime, all they see is murder, how they can actually make a choice to improve their life?
Yeah, you know, South Central Los Angeles, for those watching overseas, there's the big gang wars that people see in all the movies, the Crips, the Bloods, MS-13, shootings and murders and just constant crime. And so we would make 2 or 3 felony arrests a day. And those take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours with the person at a time. And I'd spend a lot of time talking to people saying, why are you dealing drugs? Why are you robbing liquor stores? Why don't you get a college degree? Why don't you take advantage of, I mean, people are lined up all over the world to try to get into the United States, and they can't because of the opportunity. We have people here in the United States refusing. It's because they bought this lie that they don't have a choice, that somehow they're relegated to this place in life, this area. I mean, South Central Los Angeles is about 8 miles from the beach, and most of the guys I booked never saw the beach, never seen the ocean. It was 8 miles away.
Wow. And so when you feel, how do you go from being a person, a victim, to a victor? What are the steps you can take to get there?
Well, the number one reason why people are victims, is because they're frozen in fear. What you've got to do is get over your fear, number one, whatever your fears may be. And the fears can be irrational. But the second thing is you've got to be able to take accountability for who you are. I mean, there are great stories of people who come from the ghettos of Los Angeles or anywhere else and become something great. I find most victims, once they become adults, they won't change. And really, the reason I wrote the book was for the victors. Because victims will suck you dry, they'll suck out your energy. Victors need to understand, they need to find other victors. They need to pour themselves into them and not let victims come and attach themselves to them with all their stories and excuses of woe and demand that the victor take care of them.
What do you want people to get from your book? When they read this book, what do you want them to walk away with?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we see society all over the place. America, the Western world, is full of blame and people refusing to be accountable. What I want victors to do is to realize, you know what, I'm not a victim, that I'm someone that can make things happen, and clearly I understand what it is I need to do. I need to make choices and be accountable for those choices. I need to move forward. We've only made choices when we feel the action, the pain of our choice. Making a choice isn't saying, okay, I've made a choice, now I'm gonna just think about it a lot. If I'm gonna make the choice to get in shape, I haven't made the choice to get in shape until I've joined a gym and I started to work out, or bought running shoes and started to run, right? I haven't made the choice when I bought the running shoes and they're sitting there. It's when I feel the pain of my choice. I also want them to realize that victims won't change. And we spend so much, a lot of good people have their time sucked away by victims coming to them with all their stories and excuses and, yeah, I need money, I need this. And we all know people like that. We have them in our families, we have them around. There's always a reason, there's always a story why they're a failure. We've got to move on from those people, find other victors, create teams, and go and do great things in the world.
And my last question is for a victor, because I think I probably fall into this category. You know the person has problems, but in your compassion, especially as Christians, you want to help people, but then you also see, this person's really not trying to help themselves, but that compassion part of you begins to take over. How do you separate the two when when it's time to move on versus, you know what, this person has some potential and I'm going to walk them through the steps and help them become a victor?
That's such an awesome question, and it's so true. But remember, Christ gave us the example of how to deal with different people. So Christ went to some people and said, follow me, and they followed him, and he poured his life into them. And then remember, there was the young man that he goes to and says, follow me, and the guy says, well, I got to go bury my father, meaning, well, when my dad's dead, then I'll follow you. And Jesus said, what? Get lost. If you don't put your hand to the plow when I call you, then you're not worthy of me. So Jesus understood, and that's an example for us to be who we are. We want to go to the cross. We want to know Jesus, and we want to pull everybody we can with us. That's the great commandment, is to make disciples of all men, right? So if you stumble, I'll pick you up. If you need to be carried, I'll carry you. Whatever I can do to help you, as long as you're choosing the cross. But if you want to sit and refuse to choose the cross, I don't have time for you. We're gonna move on. And Christ gave us that template. The rich young ruler was a similar type of deal. God, he poured himself into people who repent, who wanted him, and he went out of his way to insult Pharisees who didn't want to choose him. Not that we should go insulting people, but got a point.
Yes, well, thank you so much. And this book, I think it's really going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much for being on Turning Point. And we look forward to seeing what more you're going to write for us as well. Thank you so much.